Science fiction writers, filmmakers, they haven't imagined what we're able to do today. We've been experimenting with something here. I'd like you to meet a boy called Milo. He's a character that can recognize us, he can recognize our faces, he can recognize our voices, he can recognize emotions in us. And this is Claire. She's going to introduce you to Milo.
Hi, Milo. How are you doing?
Hi, Claire. You okay?
Actually, I'm a bit nervous.
So, can you tell us, like, how did you come up with the idea for Milo?
Well, that you know, how did I come up with the idea of that? That's an impossibly hard question, man. I mean, I could tell you I was lying in the bath and it suddenly came to me. I think that idea has been in my mind in one form or another for 20 years. And my dream is, we're making these characters, these computer game characters, and one day we could make a character that really feels real. And that's what the dream is. The actual game and the game mechanics and the story behind the game, we sort of come up with that in the last few years.
But it is a game because, from what we saw, we could say, well, it looks like a tech demo or something to demonstrate what Natal could be all about.
Doesn't it? Well, that's why I'm trying to show it off to people like you, because when you actually see it and you interact with Milo and you can see, the game mechanics, and I can talk about the game mechanics and the story, you realise it's not a tech demo, it's actually, a full game. And that's, it's a game where the main character of that game happens to be a boy called Milo, and he happens to be made in such a way that you believe he's real.
So, you said you've been thinking about working on it for a few years. How long have you known about Natal and the ideas behind it?
Well, the funny thing that happened is when I heard rumours of Natal happening within Microsoft, immediately I said, I've got to convince them that Milo is the thing for Natal. Because what I struggled with Milo was, how could you really meet someone that you believed that was real with a controller when you had to talk to him by pressing buttons, or you had to move around the world with using a thumbstick? You're never going to believe he's real.
And eye contact, perhaps the most important.
Eye contact and all of that stuff. So what I did, as soon as I heard rumours of it, we made a little like a little tech demo video. And we sent it over to those guys and said, please, can we see your stuff?
Because it was such a leap from seeing the concepts, the first concepts, and the demonstration of Natal, what it could do. Fun games, but then to something like Milo, which looks like that's just leaps and bounds.
Yeah, and what it is the reason, part of the reason that it looks different is that for me as a designer, Natal is, yes, you can do some incredible things with your body, and I think, the ricochet and the paint stuff are really, really, really compulsive experiences, but it's the things that we as designers have never ever done before, because we've always had these really crude things called controllers that have evolved to play certain games. Now let's be honest about it. Probably a controller was first invented to play, some Mario type 2D scrolling game. Then they've never been evolved to create these new experiences. So to a certain extent, we had to wait for Natal to come around.
But do you think that gamers, because I think gamers are a little bit hesitant about all these new kinds of ways to control. Do you think that they will be obviously we've seen that Project Natal has really gotten a lot of attention amongst hardcore gamers as well as mainstream, but there is a sort of a hesitance to sort of move away from the controller.
The controller is fantastically good at doing certain things. Why we shouldn't throw that away, and no one's suggesting that the controller is going to be going to be thrown away and Natal's going to replace the controller. Natal just enables you to have completely different experiences. Now ask yourself this, and this is not me announcing anything or talking about anything, it's just me as a designer talking. If you've got a designer thinking about what they could do with a controller plus Natal, how interesting is that? And for me, sort of the very fine movement of the thumbstick, there's the sort of the analog accuracy of the button presses. They're great mechanics to play certain sort of games. but it's, you know, what else Natal can add to that, which is interesting. So gamers shouldn't feel threatened. I don't think they should feel threatened. I don't feel threatened as a gamer.
I mean, just thinking of a game like Fable, what would it mean if you actually had contact with the person you're talking to on screen? You know, it doesn't, and then you play the game just as.
You got it. There you go. Obviously, I can't answer questions like that because I may.
There might be a third game in that series.
Yes, you might need you to believe something that I would get killed for if I announced. Yeah.
But it's been a very exciting E3 this year. Microsoft had a lot of announcements, Nintendo had a lot of announcements, and Sony have a lot of announcements as well. Do you feel that like this is I mean, it has to be a very interesting time for game developers to see all this stuff going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to look back at 2009 and we're going to say that it was a very, very important year. Now, there's no surprises here. You know, we are midway through this generational cycle. Developers are kind of used to this technology and now really pushing the boundaries of it. You know, shows like E3 are back, and they've proven that publishers and developers love showing off. They love unveiling boxes and surprising people. So, I just think that 2009 is a very, very important time. And it's also the things that you don't see that are going on underneath the surface, which are really important as well.
I think they're sort of getting a bit edgy here, so they want to pull you away, but thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks.